Hello and welcome to Lesson 2, Part 2. One of the things you're already starting to notice is there's a slight deviation from things we've done before, or supposed to be the final version of the particular item. One of the things that you should be aware of, where I'm concerned, I am more concerned with you accomplishing the task, okay, and getting a practice on the skills. Then I am making sure that you get it 100% correct. All right. So, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do a frame-by-frame animation, and we're going to insert some lights, some headlights, and things along those lines. Now, what I did in this particular case is I went down in the my library file, and I double-clicked on my car right to bring this up. What this does is this allows me to see the different instances of what's been added. So I see that there's been lights that has been specifically added, right? And there's also a small rumble, and you'll notice it kind of jumps back and forth. And what we're going to do, and if I took a look at, let's say, car middle, kind of the same sort of thing. Where's my car middle? And you'll note that I've got the same sort of thing. I've got this, I've got lights, and I've got to have a small rumble as we go through. So what we're going to do is we're going to create those same effects on the car left. Well, interesting development. I seem to have not saved what I was working on. Luckily, I have a final version of everything so I can pull it up. So I'm going to kind of walk you through the remaining parts of this particular assignment. I'm also going to kind of go back through and show you some modifications. And if yours is a little off from this, but I can tell that you're working on it, that's perfectly fine. I don't have a problem with it. So the very first thing is when you look at the city, right? So the city started at, on their version, they made the city start around 23, and it continued. Notice it's rising. Ours was falling, which was perfectly fine. But at some point in time, the city stopped. So what you could actually do is insert a blank keyframe to make the city stay after the point in time. So that's one way to do that. Additionally, you'll notice the left car starts here, right? And the left car comes from there, and it swings in to there. Now, no indicators whatsoever in the way the text was put together that was the way it is, and that's perfectly fine. You can do the leftmost car over there. You can keep your leftmost car, the left car that we were putting there, on the far right side. I'm perfectly fine either way because these things are kind of interesting when they develop, and as long as you're getting the skills necessary and I can see you have fly a car in, that's perfectly fine. Now, the thing that we're going to be working with and actually creating is we're going to be creating the library item as it referenced to your left car. So we're going to kind of walk through that. Okay, so what I've done here is I've gone to the car left, and I've just double-clicked on the car left. And all I want to do in the car left is I'm going to insert the keyframe after this. So I'm going to right-click, I'm going to insert my keyframe, and all I'm going to do when I insert my keyframe here, you'll notice as I move from Section 1 to Section 2, it just moves a little. All I'm going to do is make it rumble. And the only reason I'm doing that, and of course my last one, I'm going to insert another keyframe and I'm going to move it up. All I'm going to do there is give it the illusion of movement. Remember, we've talked about this before. The illusion of movement when it moves in. So if I come back here and I'm working with my cars, you'll notice as they come in, there's 3. What? That was amazing. Okay, so I get my illusion of what's actually going on in the particular item where that's concerned. So let me pull up there was my start, this is my end, and I'm going to, let me go back to my scene, and this is my end scene, right? So as I move those cars in, you'll notice that they kind of jump up and down a little bit as they go through, right? This actually works out pretty good because they managed to reload my original, which is amazing, right? So it goes through, all right? Okay, so for the first thing I did is I inserted a new layer right here, and I put it at the very, very top. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the 120 frame, and I'm going to right-click, and I want to insert a keyframe. at the 120 frame. Then what's going to happen after I do the 120 frame, I then want to check in my library, and if I look all the way to the bottom of my library, it says movie title. I'm going to go ahead and grab that movie title, and I'm going to place it out in the blank space. It's going to come right there. Now, you'll notice right now I have the 3D tool enabled, which is perfectly fine, right? So I can actually turn that off, but I want to have that on. That's that 3D transition tool right there. And I'm going to position the title in the empty sky at 180 and 90. So with it selected, right? So here's my item selected. I'm going to go to properties. And then when it says X, I want to do 180. And then when it does Y, I want to do 90, right? So there's my X and my Y. Move title instance appears, right? And so right click on the movie title and choose create motion tween. So I'm going to right click here and I'm going to create motion tween. What I'm doing is I'm inserting animation in such a way where the double identity moves in such a way and spins, right? So what we want to do is we want to move the playhead forward to 140, and this is kind of tough to see until you're looking at it. So now I'm setting at 140, right? And then at 140, I want to make sure I'm selected the 3D rotation tool, which is this item right here. Then I want to drag the left arm of the green Y control to rotate the title around the Y axis. Okay. Now what this is meaning is this. When I'm right here, I'm going to take this right here, and I'm going to move this in such a way where it looks like it's facing backwards, right? That's basically all that is, okay? And it's going to be about -50. And then I want to go all, now you'll notice that it shows an animate point right there after I animate it there. And then I want to go back to my 120, and I want to change this so it just appears as a sliver, right? So just an absolute sliver, okay? And now what's happening is when I go through these two things, it's going to look like this. So it looks like it kind of spins in, right? Double identity. Dun, dun, dun. So when I actually run this bad boy, it looks like, I'm going to start right there. I'm going to go ahead and run it. Right? So it comes in like a movie title thing, right? All right. Pretty neat so far. Now, after you add all your elements together, they should look fairly similar to this. Now, I understand you might have some slight differences, and that's perfectly fine. But as long as you have most of the elements there to create this kind of look to it, that's perfectly fine. And if you want it to go fast or slower, you can play with the frame rate, just in case you're curious. So I can decrease my frame rate. I'm decreasing it to 100. Then I'm going to replay it, and it's going to have a tendency to only do 100 frames per second. So it goes a little bit slower as it brings in, and we have the information there. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about exporting. So I can choose File, and I can choose Export, and I can do an export video, right? And this gives me a dialog box. So I can come along, convert video, browse. This is where I want to actually put it. It's going to actually put a movie right there. So I'm going to be able to create a movie from there and to be able to turn it in. So in your final turn, it'll be your movie as well as the review questions that will be forthcoming. So once again, thank you very much for your time. I hope that kind of helped you out as you went through. If you have further questions, do let me know. Otherwise, you'll notice as we're going through, we're adding more and more in different ways to get you used to using the tools. Thank you very much for your time.